2 hours in and still not sure what to make of what's going to happen with Michigan's football, Ohio State's game this weekend against Michigan State. And it's only Wednesday. And I say it's only Wednesday because we've seen so much happens in a very short period of time. And before you sign off and go, they're going to play football this weekend, it feels like Ohio State's going to do their best, no matter what their roster looks like, from what I'm told. They're going to get this game in. And Michigan State is the opponent. Michigan would be the opponent next weekend. And, of course, Kirk Herbstreit last night on the playoff selection show was saying that maybe Michigan just waves the white flag and surrenders here. It doesn't mean that Michigan is not going to maybe think twice about playing this game, but for COVID reasons. To be fair to Michigan, COVID reasons. From what I was told last night and this morning, they might not be able to field a competitive team. And I went back to my source and said, well, even if everybody's healthy, they're not going to field a competitive team. To which he said, that's true, but with COVID, how many players might miss this game? Are they going to be able to play their game this weekend? And then it's a big game with Ohio State, obviously, with a lot at stake if they're able to play that game. We played the Kirk Herbstreit sound from last night. I don't want to play it again. You know what the gist is, that Herbie said that maybe they're going to wave the white flag and basically opt out, and that he was told by some coaches that teams are purposely opting out using COVID as an excuse. I would need some examples there. I think it's a big blanket to, throw over college football and say that. Do I think it's possible? Absolutely. Do I think Florida State used COVID as an excuse to not play Clemson? I don't. I think when you listen to the medical experts from your conference, because this is conference by conference by conference, not a governing body with the NCAA, then I will defer to the medical community who you hired, put in place to make those decisions. And I knew that the Big Ten, they started late. They were up against some doubters, some people who had some serious reservations about playing football this year and still have serious reservations about playing football. Did they do the right thing? And we don't know that, but Ohio State has a lot at stake here, more than any other team right now in the country, with what they need to do. Clemson and Notre Dame are going to face each other. Alabama and Florida are going to face each other. Texas A&M is on the outside looking in. Somebody's waiting for somebody to slip up, and then maybe you're going to get A&M slipping in there. If Florida doesn't beat Alabama, you can remove them. If Clemson blows out Notre Dame, does Notre Dame get bounced? If Ohio State only has 5 games on their resume, does the playoff committee go, we've seen enough here? They passed the eye test. I don't know if they're going to pass the eye test, but I do think that the history of Ohio State football would put them in the Final Four. And I know that we like to have a meritocracy where we go, well, they earned it. Well, Ohio State hasn't earned it. And even if they beat Michigan State and beat Michigan, that doesn't mean they've earned it to be one of the 4 best teams in college football. Do they have as much talent as anybody? Yes, they do. But if I'm basing it off the eye test, and I said this from the beginning with the Big Ten, my source said if you're only playing 5 or 6 games, you're going to have to pass the eye test. What if you don't pass the eye test and you still get in? I want to know what the selection committee is basing that off of. Because if you're going to say, well, they beat Indiana, they barely beat Indiana at home. You're going to face Michigan State. We don't know what kind of team Michigan State is. Michigan, we know what kind of team they are. Does that pass the eye test? May not be fair to Ohio State. But I don't think you can go, BYU hadn't played anybody. Cincinnati hadn't played anybody. Texas A&M hadn't played it. Okay, but do they pass the eye test with the teams that they're facing? And I think that's where the playoff committee is going to have I don't know if it's a tough decision, but it might be a tough answer to talk about that decision if you're going to put Ohio State in there. And if you only play one more game and you don't play for the Big Ten title, College Football Playoff Committee, they don't require X number of games.